But no, this is a critical need for Smith County. We need more child care, daycare facilities in order to support our workforce, because as you look around today, everywhere's hiring, everywhere's looking for people, and a lot of times you hear, well, I don't have child care, I don't have affordable child care. So if there's something that we can do as far as helping foster that and get that going, then that's what we need to do. And I think this is a good start to that. This sounds like a really good program for that kind of thing if you're interested in those things, because like I said, it's critical. Plus, I mean, we need good people taking care of our kids anyways, and you want to. That was one of the things with my girls is always when it wasn't a family member child care, you always wanted that person that you felt good about leaving them at. So as I look around the room, I don't think we'll have a problem with that. But I thank you all for coming out and being interested in this. And like I said, it's a really big thing for us, because as I say, we want to build our workforce. And for years we've talked about recruiting new industries. Well, in the situation we're in today, if we got a new manufacturing facility today, and they needed 300 people, where are you going to find? I always made the joke when recruiters would come or prospects would come and talk to us about it, and they would ask about our workforce. I would cross my fingers and put it behind my back and say, "Oh yeah, well, workforce is real good." But right now you talk to anybody, and workforce is a major issue. So this is a key component into getting to that point to where we have a better, more ready to go to workforce for us. Because I mean, not just here, but you even I know Wilson County's probably brought in 6,000 new jobs in the last year. So those folks they got to work somewhere, and they're going to live somewhere. So we would, if they can't work here, we'd like for them to live here. And so if we can give them child care here, that would be great. But again, I thank you for being here and enjoying and learning something today. And I will too. If you ever need anything from me, you let me know. I have my cards with me, and I'll be glad to help you, support you in any of this we can. So. All right, I'll turn it back over to Mr. Beal.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being here. We're going to go kind of around the room and have everybody introduce themselves. And then after we do that, I'm going to ask Mary to come up and speak for a moment about what they have to offer through UT Extension. And then we're going to get Tiffany to come up and tell you about her programs and everything. So we're just going to start right here. Tell them your name and who you're with.
Lois Banks with Bank Tennessee.
Okay.
Tiffany White with CCR North.
Mary Draper with UT Extension.
I'm Rachel Petty. I'm the admin assistant at UT Extension.
Chris Hicks, I'm the county director at UT Extension here in Smith County.
And UT Extension is the one provided the meals, so thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Bridget Briggs. I help out here at the chamber.
Okay, and of course, y'all know the mayor.
Mayor, and I want to brag on UT Extension for the job they do in Smith County. I should have said it up there.
Yeah,
We are tremendously blessed with the job they do.
I kid them a lot, but they are really vital to what goes on around here. I appreciate what they do.
Megan Kinslow, the health department.
Okay, and young ladies?
April Brooks.
Okay.
Amanda Silcox.
Harry Chesson.
Jason and Kim and Madeline Sanders. Yep.
All right, and we appreciate all you guys. Oh, and I don't know if you got sound. You want to introduce yourself? If you got sound?
Oh, is she doing?
No, okay, that's okay. She is attending the meeting. She couldn't be here because she has a sick child. So
Her name is Laura Wright.
Laura Wright. Okay, Laura, thank you for being here. Okay, I'm going to ask Mary if she would come up and talk to you just a little bit about what they have to offer, and then Tiffany, I'm not going to introduce you. When Mary's done, you just come right up, okay?
I am Mary Draper, and I'm the Family and Consumer Science Extension Agent. So I deal in the areas of family, home, food, and money. So in human development, we offer different programs regarding a variety of topics. So I have y'all handouts, but we can do trainings, or if you need resources, either way. We have geared towards ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, preparing your child for kindergarten. So whether you be a parent or a child care provider, we have resources for that. Potty training, as well as different social emotional things, so how those feelings relate to tantrums, so we need to know the why before we can kind of deal with those. But this list has different programs on it, and then if there's something that you might need training on or a resource and it's not on this list, we can always ask our specialist to get you more information. And I did put our number on there, but if you need our number, I can give that to you later. It's also 615-735-2900.
So I'm Tiffany Whited with CCR&R, which is Childcare Resource and Referral. We partner with the state of Tennessee and TECTA in order to bring you all trainings to help you from anything from infant and toddler specialties all the way to business administration, health and safety, into your licensed and unlicensed childcare facilities. So I'm a small business specialist, and I have been tasked with 90% of it is to help open new childcare facilities. We are in a workforce crisis, as the mayor was speaking about, and there's not enough people to come to work, but people can't go to work if they don't have proper child care for their children. So Ms. Rachel Pogue, who will be here in just a moment with the Department of Human Services, is with our pre-licensing agency. And so they work with you closely, as well as I do, to help you open the facility from the ground up. We personally do not offer grants, but Childcare Tennessee is another one of our partners, and they have came out with an establishment grant that is $1,000 for every licensing spot that you open, up to $100,000. So that does not help you build your facility. It does not help you acquire the land or the building that's already existing. So you cannot use it toward your loan. But once you get said building or build said building, it helps you furnish it, start with training and staff, everything else before you open your doors. Every area, we're working on compiling a list right now, but every area has something a little different depending on the Upper Cumberland Developmental District and their local small business administration. Some areas are offering grants to help you get started up to $75,000 to acquire the building or to build the building. So that is very space specific throughout the Upper Cumberland. And I would be happy if you guys need help with that to figure that more out based on where you all are. But we offer the Small Business Academy in conjunction with the pre-licensure orientation. So once you go through the 4-hour pre-licensure orientation with the Department of Human Services, in order to qualify for this establishment grant, you must take a 4-module course. They're 2 hours each. They're offered online via Zoom, statewide. And so they start at budgets and projections, which teach you basically how to write a business plan. If you're going for a loan, they're going to want your business plan. They're going to want your budget. They're not going to loan you money based on what you want to happen. So that starts with showing you how to put your plan on paper in money terms. Then it goes into financial controls and internal controls that helps you manage the money that you're going to get. Then you go into staffing and retention and to marketing. They are all wonderful classes. I started very young, right out of college, as a director in Nashville without this resource. I moved on to be a director in Putnam County without this resource. And now that I'm teaching it, I realize that without this, it is the source of burnout in our childcare industry, because leadership is the #1 issue in childcare. It is not keeping families happy. It is not having the money. The money is there. The parents are there. It is the leadership and the sustainability in childcare, and that is what small business would like to help with. So my card's over here, and if you guys have any questions, even if you haven't gone through the orientation yet, give us a call, shoot me an email. I'll be happy to reach out to anyone. We have done, so I started in August with the small business specialist. We've had over 450 every month graduate from the Small Business Academy statewide. Only 24 since August have been in the Upper Cumberland region, from Wilson County to Roane. We have had 24, and we've only had 2 places that actually opened. That includes home daycare, child care facilities, and group homes. So we need child care in the Upper Cumberland, miserably. Thank you, guys.
Okay, Tiffany, thank you very much. And Tiffany can correct me on anything I'm about to say from this point, okay? It's my understanding that the UCDD is working on grants for that. There is a gentleman with TSBDC, that's Tennessee Small Business Development Center. His name is, come on in, ladies. That's Mr. Tyler Asher, and he will help you put together a business plan and work in conjunction with what she is talking about. And TSBDC, I've had them help set up 2 or 3 different people in business here in Smith County, and they have one of them has been quite successful and is have been in business now almost 6 or 8 months, and they actually paid their business loan off during that period of time. So if you listen to these guys, I think they can really help you. And don't try to remember UCDD. Just you can call me. I can give you the number. And once you get connected with them, it's all private. You don't have to worry about anything like that. They don't share your business plan with anybody unless you tell them to. And they're also, like I say, working on grants and also working on some other things for the Upper Cumberland here that I'm sure they'll be announcing. Now, our guests of honor and our main speakers have come in after their bout with the traffic.
We were comparing it to a Lewis and Clark expedition.
Yeah, there you go.
We gave ourselves an extra hour to get here, but apparently we needed that extra
Yeah.
hour to actually get here, so.
Well,
did it.
at least you weren't paddling the boat up the river, so it might have been faster in a way. Well, anyway, everybody has already introduced themselves, and we went around and we've had Tiffany spoke, Mary has spoke about what, and Mayor Mason, he has spoken and greeted everybody. So you're kind of in the dark on that part, but I'm going to turn it over to you and let you take the meeting from here. We have one lady that is attending by Zoom. And these guys are all interested in doing daycare, and so I'll turn it over to Miss Rachel Poe.
And this is Dana Glenn, she is our director of licensing. So I have her with me this afternoon or this morning, what time is it? I have no idea.
Oh, and if you could, we're recording this, so if you could be where the microphone is.
Okay. I have a very short PowerPoint, but really I'm just going to talk off the cuff because a lot of this stuff will be covered in orientation and things like that. But again, I'm Rachel Pogue. I'm with the Childcare Pre-Licensure Unit. I am a program specialist, and so what I basically do is help you guys get licensed and get your agencies open and everything like that. My computer is going to be really slow to get open, it seems like. But basically what we do again is we kind of came up with this unit because we felt that we weren't doing a very good job of meeting that need of helping people get open. We sent them a packet of like 90 documents. We're like, good luck. Let us know when you finish this. And I mean, if someone sent me that, I'd be like, no, I'm good. Probably not going to do that. Yeah, there we go. So we've tried to rework the whole process into about 15 steps. And we go through all of this through orientation. Come on, computer. Is there a way to plug in my PowerPoint? Okay. I'll just go ahead and do that. Give you something to look at. Okay, sounds good. It's short. It's only like a 10-minute. But again, so like missing link, we were just thinking that if we had people that just focused on being that person that helps you walk through the process, because it is a process. It's not easy. And what we're finding is that from different cities, different towns, different counties, it's going to be different for everybody. So we're really trying to streamline the process across the board as much as we can. And I have a picture of all of us, so you can actually put faces to names, because you're going to talk to all of us. We're a small unit. Awesome. So yeah, this is all of us. Let me hit slideshow. Okay, so this is our team. Cynthia Roberts is our supervisor, and then this is the rest of us. So these are the faces that you'll see in the pre-licensure unit. We cover the entire state. We're actually down 2 people right now, so there's 4 of us. But we all have different backgrounds. Like Wendy was a director for 25 years. She was an owner. She has that experience. I've been a director. I've worked for CCR&R. I've worked for Childcare Certificate. We've got Margot, Rachel Peters. We actually all have nicknames too as well. So if you ever hear weird names being thrown out, we've just had to, because there's, as you can see, there's 3 of us named Rachel. So I'm Blondie. I'm sure you can't figure out why I'm called that. And then we have Rachel Reinhardt and Podgy. She's OG Rachel. And then we have Rachel Peters. So those are our faces. And then, okay, so again, our continued vision of this is just to really streamline the process. We're really trying to focus on the customer service aspect of it. We're trying to really have that one-on-one experience with each person that comes in. And just, I know when I have my providers, I really try to come in and just say, show me your dream, show me your goals. Where do we want to go with this? Because I think that's the joy of childcare is every childcare center can be different, and it needs to be different because children have different needs. So how can we streamline this, but also make this an individualized process for each person? I don't know what's on here. And we're also recruiting, so that's another reason why we're here, and that's why we have Dana as well. We're recruiting prospective providers, so we want, especially in rural areas, so we want to get out there. We want to bring quality care to the smallest areas that we can, because every family deserves it, every child deserves it. All right, and this is the 15-step process, and I know you probably can't read it. You will receive it in an email so you can read it at length. So today, if anyone's interested, I can go ahead and get you signed up for step 1, orientation. It's a 4-hour virtual training we do with Cynthia does the training, and we're just gonna kind of explain the process, kind of tell you what you're getting yourselves into if you haven't worked in childcare before, if you're completely new to the whole process. We really just try to go through each step by step, tell you what to expect, what's to come up, how can you get started, all of that. And then this is my first provider that I opened, Ms. Porter. But so we work with you to get open. So after that, you'll be on what's called a provisional license. So it's temporary license is actually provisional license now, and you'll be on that license for 120 days. And then after that, we will pass you over to your local LC, with your licensing consultant. And then I'm guessing you already talked about Small Business Academy, which is a fantastic resource. I think a lot of people get into childcare thinking, I love children. There's a whole other side of it as well. You've got to also have the business mind of it. You've got to do payroll. You've got to pay your staff. You've got to have it as a supportive business, and having that support and having people that have that experience as a director and owner is very invaluable. And so I don't know if you touched on this, the different types of coaches with CCR&R. Okay, so I just put this in my slideshow as well, but they also have different coaches that can help you with all different types of support. So if you're the director, I know when I was a director, I didn't have time just to sit in the classroom and observe as much as I wanted to. But we have CCR&R that can come in and be like, hey, let me just spend an hour with this teacher. Let me just see what's going on. How can we help with some classroom management? Let's do some health and safety things. We have that training and that support. And it's free, which is another great thing. And then TECTA, I don't know if y'all have heard of TECTA before, but they will also help further that education, and it is also free. So it's a great resource for those that for family and group, really you just need a high school diploma. But if you're looking to further your education into a child development associates, we can help you with that. And we have the financial means to help with those costs. All right, and now the money part. We have the establishment grant. So that's the grant that we just launched August 5th. And we are working to help pay for the cost to fill the program. So think of like the tables and chairs, your cubbies, the toys, materials, things like that. We can't always help with costs that help cover like building things. So we're just trying to figure out how can we still help with those costs. But it's been great. I've seen programs that had nothing inside of them, and we were able to fill full classrooms with materials and things like that. It's based off your capacity number. So we would come out and measure your space for capacity. So family and group, we would come and measure if you're using like your bonus room. We would come out and measure it and say, all right, this looks like you could have about 7 kids. So that's $7,000. It's $1,000 per child and your capacity, with a cap of $100,000. So it's a great, and also I want to go back. It's actually very easy to obtain as well. Really, the things that you have to obtain this grant, you already have to have in the licensing process. So you have to have your state fire inspection, your environmental inspection, and be a part of the certificate program and offer that subsidized payment for parents. And then questions. I didn't want to talk too much, but I definitely want to answer questions that you guys have. So let me hear them. I'm going to grab my water too.
Yes. I have like tons of questions.
I would love it.
I want to ask them like out loud, or if I need it privately or whatever.
Both. It doesn't matter.
Okay. I feel like I don't even know where to start. Okay, so we currently own, we have our own property, and we don't
Okay.
have a building. I do keep 4 children, it's family and close friends.
Mhm.
And so I've been like, I do like my taxes, I've done all that kind of stuff already for them. But like, my question is, like, as far as, I want to get quotes for a building, we're looking at putting a building on our land. And so I just don't know where to start as far as, like, how much square footage I need. Does
Yeah.
that just depend on, like, how many children you want to have? And then you were talking about the workforce. That's another concern that I have, and we've talked about it also. You know, I do want to hire employees.
Right.
But I worry about the workforce and finding good, reliable employees,
Right.
as like an incentive. I don't know, like, I could go on and on.
So square footage wise, we require 30 square feet indoors per child. That's indoors. Outdoors is 50 square feet per child outdoors. 50 outside, 30 inside. So we try to give people that kind of, okay, like your business plan, of course, you need to look at how many children do I need to have to make this work. You gotta have your business plan. You gotta work with Tiffany to come up with all of that. Yeah. She's really good about that. Building quotes and things like that. I don't know that I know a ton about that. I'm very sorry because it
No,
is.
that's why, I mean, that
Yeah.
helps about having the square footage so that I can kind of like start to get quotes and ideas and that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
And then you said something about like, oh man, the environmental, I'm trying to.
So we require a state fire inspection. So that's with the state fire marshal. This area, I highly doubt you need a local fire marshal inspection. It's usually like your Nashville metro and Shelby County kind of areas. And then environmental. So those are the 2 required. We also are requiring a use and occupancy permit. You basically just need clearance from like zoning. A lot of times state fire will also give you that use and occupancy. But those are kind of the things that like people ask for, like, we want timelines, we want to know how long it takes to get licensed. We really can't give that to you because the factors of state fire. Usually state fire has to come out once or twice, at least twice. They'll come out and do their initial inspection and then they'll come do their final. So those are the kind of things, and whatever they say will always trump what we say. So if we come in and we're like, this looks really like, we like how you did this, they can come in and say, it's a fire hazard, you can't do that. So we try not to come in and like be like, oh, we can get you open in a month, no problem, whatever. I will never tell you that. I promise. I'm not trying to like give out false dreams. But and State Fire has been really great to work with, and they know all about childcare. I call them up on the phone all the time with questions constantly because I'm like, what is this? I have no idea. And they won't ever give us like a checklist that we've asked for. We're like, we just want childcare options. It would be so nice. We don't have that, but they are very easy to work with, and they are a great asset to this whole process.
That'll help, like, as far as like accessibility and like all that kind of stuff. That's what.
Yeah, and environmental will
I don't
help.
wanna just put a building up and then it'd be like, well, you've got to, you know, that this is not up to go. I mean, obviously.
Well, if you're building and you are working with an architect, the architect will probably be working with State Fire anyways. And then we would just send out another State Fire inspection because as a child care, it has to be inspected as a child care. But your architect would probably be working with State Fire the whole time anyways, so they would know kind of what. And they'll know accessibility wise, like if you're looking to make it handicap accessible, to know that they need doorways at least 32 inches wide, things like that. Yes.
2 questions.
Okay.
Number 1, everything that you've said, does that apply to somebody that's just wanting to keep a child in their home?
So you can keep up to 4 children, like you've said, without a license. If you are looking to become licensed, you would still have to have a fire inspection and an environmental inspection as well.
Okay, and how many children can you keep then once you pass those 2 hurdles?
So we have different types of childcare. So family is 5 to 7 children. We have group, which is 8 to 12, with the option of 3 additional school-age children. They have to be school-age, so it could go up to 15. But 8 to 12 is group, and then anything over that is center-based.
Okay, and all of those could possibly be available for our home childcare.
Center-based has to be outside of the home, but family and group, which is your 5 to 7, your 8 to 12, can be within your residence.
Okay. Then the other thing you talked about, you mentioned architect, which to somebody that's starting out, that's a scary word.
Oh, for sure.
But UCDD and TSPDC and maybe even, I'm not sure if your group, I'm thinking TSPDC and UCDD would help with doing that planning and finding these people for you if you had them. I am making the assumption there is not a can like, hey, here's a building plan that's approved by Tennessee planning.
There's not. That would be nice, but no, there's not. And I only said architect just because if she's looking to build something, that would be center. So that she's looking to keep over 13 children probably, if that your ultimate goal would do that. And if you wanted to start small with staying in your home, but you wanted to become licensed with 5 to 7, that's something you wouldn't need architectural plans for, obviously, because you're in your home. But so go ahead.
Would it be better to go ahead and become licensed first? That's my next question. I'm
Okay.
actually in school right now for early childhood education.
Okay.
But I'll have my associate's degree in May.
Okay.
And I'm kind of on the fence on whether to go ahead and finish and go ahead and get my bachelor's degree. But I don't know if I need to become licensed before I start looking at buildings.
I would say really that's going to be up to you how you want to do it. Have you worked in childcare before, like in licensed childcare? Okay. Any kind of like group setting childcare? I would say go ahead and finish out your bachelor's, and if you want to in the meantime, go ahead and start with a license with 5 to 7 and just become familiar with the rules and things like that. Or if you're comfortable with keeping your 4 right now and you're just working towards finishing your bachelor's, it's really going to be however you want to work towards it. One of the center-based requirements is a 4-year degree if you don't have that childcare experience, like years of childcare experience. So, yeah.
Like a center-based, that's required, so thank you.
And I can send you, I have a chart on my computer, actually, I keep it because I send it out all the time, but the center-based requirements for director are different than family and group. Family and group, you just need the high school diploma or GED equivalent.
Thank you. I'll stop talking.
No, you're good.
No, please, you're fine, that's why I'm here.
If you start your home and you expand, there are also funds available for your expansion.
Yes.
You can't pay for your building, but again, if you go from having 7 kids to then you want to open your center, you'll get that $1,000 otherwise differential for that number of children that you expand to. So if you add 40 more kids in your center, then you'll get $40,000 to stock the center.
Yes.
Based on
Oh,
what you
sorry.
see around here, if every one of these folks opened up a daycare and 2 of them say opened a big daycare, there'd still be people looking for daycare in this area. Am I not correct on that? So they don't have to worry about.
Probably.
No, I mean, I can attest for myself, we get messages daily,
Right,
like
Right.
daily.
yeah. And that's why that's why we're having this meeting. We want to see how can we help you guys to move forward with the licensing process. How can we have more children in licensed care? Yes.
So I have the 4-year child development degree from Tech.
Okay, me too.
I've always said if I wanted to do this, I go bigger, I go home.
Okay.
I want a center if I do this.
Yeah.
But getting licensed, do you have to participate in the 3-star?
No, that's voluntary. Also, I know a lot of people associate the 3-star with assessment.
Yep.
That's what I used to do. I used to be that person that comes in with my notebook and all that kind of stuff. We don't do that.
It's really nerve-wracking.
We don't do that. You just have one person that comes into your program now. That's your licensing consultant, and that's the person that does everything for you throughout the year. So you're not having multiple people coming into your location. You just have your one licensing consultant that would come in and do the assessment aspect of it. They would do all of your visits, all of that. So you wouldn't have to worry about assessment or ITERs or ECHRs. That's gone. So if that helps, I know I was assessment. I've been assessed myself. I know it was not a fun process. It made me so sweaty every single time, but we're shifting to a different type of, I don't know what. Yeah, different model. Yeah, exactly. We're just trying to be more, that's why we changed the name from evaluator to consultant. We're trying to make that relationship more of like, hey, how can we help you? How can we work with you? We're not just trying to come in and point out the negative things that you're doing. We're trying to say, hey, you're doing a great job doing this. How can we take this a step further? How can we grow your program? Things like that. So I don't want you guys to think of us as the mean state people. We're really trying to mend that relationship and trying to be like a smiling face that is very supportive of your agency. And we want to help you guys grow as much as you can so you can keep all these kids.
I had 25 years in childcare and helped develop the star rating program in Oklahoma and then brought it to Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
And it is overwhelming, but I do want everyone to understand it's worth it. I know it's hard, but it's worth it even now, especially now that it's easier, because parents do rely on looking at that star rating to decide where to go. And so not only are you getting more people coming, but you're getting the people who care. And as an owner and a director, when you have parents who care, your job is so much easier.
It really is.
It's so much easier. So you have the parents who actually care where their children are staying and the quality of the program they're staying within. So it's a double-edged sword, but if it's easier, then I can't see any reason not to do it because it would definitely enhance your business.
And you get those bonus payments with certificate too, being based on your stars. That's
Which
kind
is
of another.
guaranteed money, because
Exactly.
The state pays you when parents sometimes don't.
Yeah, it's a guaranteed check every 2 weeks.
I have a daycare that comes to me often. It's like, Megan, if you'll open up, I'll fill your center up. Megan, if you open up, I have a waiting list. I'm just like, I don't know. I work for the state, I have sick time and vacation time, and I have insurance that's really good.
I totally understand.
But also, you can make a decent living.
You can.
Childcare, I don't know.
And
But
you can do it the way you want to do it, to some degree,
if I
yeah.
do it, I go bigger, I go home. I don't want it at my house.
So here's my
Yes.
question.
Okay.
If you're doing it, and is there extra guidelines, stipulations with special needs children that you would have? Any certain things that come to your mind that you have to have in place or extra things?
Danny, you can probably answer this better than me, but not specific because you have to be able to accommodate that child to the best of your needs. I would think you would want to work with a parent. If a parent did come with you with a child with special needs, I think you would just want to say, hey, how can we meet this child's need? I think state fire would require some like wheelchair accessibility and things like that with a ramp. Do you know any more on that?
I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I'll go back and double check on
Yeah,
that.
it'd be good to know if there was some certain thing that, we're not thinking
think
of that's got to
There's
be in place.
additional funding if you take children with special needs, but you can't
Yes.
get it if you don't work with the organizations that
sorry.
provide that special funding.
Just join
So
that.
you would need to have the changing table for a larger child if you're taking a larger child that's still in
Equipment,
diapers,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
things like that. But then there's through the,
enhancement grant.
yeah, you would get funding, and you can't get that if you don't have the ability to care for those children. But there is more money for that, yeah.
Well, it's, okay.
Yeah.
CCR&R offers inclusion specialists
Yes.
as well. That can come in and help you. They can, if you want to take a child, they can be the mediator between you and the parents and say, this is what my child needs and this is what your program needs to meet me in the middle for. And the ladies that we have here in the Upper Cumberland are phenomenal. So we do have those resources available.
Free support.
One thing for the record, this is Pastor Monica Nowdy, and
Yes.
she's on the committee that we have on workforce and child care here with the chamber. That's
It's nice to meet you in person.
Yeah.
I've seen you on Zoom.
Well, and I also did daycare for 25 years.
Right.
I owned them, directed them, big ones, little ones, never one in my home. I was more like you.
Yeah, I don't want it in my house.
But there are super big advantages to having it in your home. Because some tax advantages, like so many of the things that you purchase that you would be purchasing anyway.
Your utilities.
your utilities, your new furniture, toys, food, toilet paper, paper towels, a lot of that is tax deductible. And so, and they're things you would be buying anyway.
And we've tried to with this orientation too. We've actually divided our orientations up into center-based and family group. So we can work more one-on-one, people that are looking to do more in-home programs, and then people that are wanting to do a center-based program. So you'll see our orientations have, we just recently, last month, actually divided those up into 2 sessions. So I can go ahead and get people signed up today for orientation. So if you know that you want to, even if you just want to just learn more about the process, you're not having to commit.
It's free, you're not.
It's free, you're not committed afterwards. We do send your information to Tiffany afterwards for Small Business Academy. But again, if you just want to know more about the process, you just have questions, like today we have an hour, but that's a 4-hour training that's free. You get to sit home in your pajamas and listen to it, so.
That's my question.
Yeah.
No, you go ahead.
I might have missed it, distracted with her.
You're good.
Did you go over like the ages for like the family and the group?
So license is 6 weeks to 12 years. So it's really how, in those age groups, where do you fall in? Where do you want to keep kids? Do you want to have infants in your home? Do you want to start at 12 months? That's fine too. Do you want to just school age program?
So it's open for 6 weeks to 12
To 12 years, yeah.
So
It's
if
up
we
to you to
did the
decide.
group, and then what about
8 to 12.
ratio? Child to adult ratio, did you go over that?
I didn't. I don't know that I have it up on my, I don't think I have that pulled up. But they're in the rules. I can get them to you.
Okay.
But they're different from,
Between
between the ages.
That's kinda
Yeah,
what I'm wanting
exactly.
wanting to know,
Yeah, just let me know. I'll give you my email and I can send that to you.
Okay.
I have the center-based one on here, I know, but I don't have family and group screenshotted. But usually group with 8 to 12, you would need an additional person with you. 5 to 7, you can typically do it by yourself.
And if you're keeping children
Mm-hmm.
unlicensed for less, your own, or ones related to you don't count toward that?
You can keep up to 4 unrelated children.
Okay, and then if your family, 5 to 7, they do count?
They would start counting
Okay.
if they're
So that
paying you,
hasn't-
yeah.
that hasn't changed.
Yeah.
Zoom, the orientation you're talking about, are there certain dates that is required, or is it kind of like, I just need, like, is it on the weekends?
So this one's on, center-based is April 1st, family and group is April 4th. We do them every month.
Okay.
So if this month doesn't work for you and I wait till May, I can sign you up for May. But we offer them monthly, and usually at the beginning of every month.
So one thing that came up in discussions that I've been around is the fact that people work first shift, second shift, third shift.
Yes.
And I don't know anybody that does a 24-hour daycare, but that is possibly a need. And I don't know if you've got any spiel on that or thoughts on that.
You can do 24-hour care, you can do shift care. I think certificate pays actually more for second and third shift. But yeah, you're absolutely able to do shift care. I know that's something across the whole state that people are asking for, is that shift care, especially like your industrial areas and things like that. They have parents that work second and third shift, they need that care. So that's always an option if that's something that y'all are wanting to look into as well.
And if you think about it, I don't know, around the time of year they were saying that you bring a child at bedtime and you pick them up in the morning, that's pretty easy daycare.
You gotta stay awake. You gotta stay awake, it's not. Yeah.
It's different. I helped design one time.
Right.
One of those things, actually, home daycares are more utilized for overnight care than centers, because most people don't like picking their kid up out of a bed and taking them and paying for it. But
Right.
I helped in Bonner, Oklahoma, in Bonner, Tennessee, they have an industrial park, and I designed an entire one built on shift care.
Oh, wow.
And everybody said they wanted it, and then nobody used the second or third shift.
Really?
No.
My mom tried to do the same thing, got licensed for it, she was right next to a plant.
People don't want to leave their babies in a center overnight.
Overnight.
But they will in home care sometimes, so.
Right.
because it's a bed
Right.
and a house.
We hear more of
Yeah.
your second and third shift being an in-home option than
And that's not
necessarily
a never,
center.
it's just something to consider. We did a
Exactly.
whole needs assessment, everything, we had hundreds of people that were like, yes, we want this, and we put in the bathtubs and had the teeth brushing stations, all the things you have to have extra, bigger cots, whole 9 yards, nobody, crickets. When they found out they had to pay the same amount or more for their kids to sleep, it was a big turn
Oh,
off.
really?
It was, you know, paying someone to watch their kid while they slept was
Right,
worried that the person was staying awake, although they did. I mean, it was weird.
right.
I think it's one of those things like Jeff said, it's good on paper, but when people actually go to use it, it feels funny.
Yeah, but we do
But
hear
now I
a
know
lot
a
of,
lot of people that will use homes
I do too.
for overnight care.
I do too. That's usually what you hear of, not necessarily center-based. It's more family group.
Do you guys help with finding teachers?
No, not necessarily. No.
And I'm sure they have to have background checks, correct?
Yes, you would have to pass a background check. Everyone has to get fingerprinted, even if like your husband's gonna be, and that's another thing with family and group. Anyone over the age of 15 in your household will have to get fingerprinted. So that's something to also think about. Just if you have a husband, they're gonna have to get fingerprinted, or any other significant other, child, things like that. Yes.
Person on Zoom is asking if y'all can unmute her.
I have no idea.
Bill.
It looks like she's unmuted.
She has a question, I think.
I'm sorry.
Just maybe
Can she talk now?
turn it up, I think Robin was answering.
Y'all are so tech savvy.
There you go.
Can she talk now?
I've texted her, waiting on a response.
Can you hear us?
Yes, absolutely. Every day.
Yeah, we could call her.
Ask her if she'd feel comfortable. Ask her if she'd feel comfortable being on speaker. Because at the beginning,
I'm used to this thing. I'm not used to his
I don't
new
know what
system.
happened. You're still hearing us, I'm guessing.
Can y'all hear her?
So we have someone.
Sure, can you hear me when I'm up there? And I always say a question. Okay.
I'll be the, I'm taking your phone. Okay, that's fine.
So her question was about family and group and how invasive are the licensing consultants, people coming in. We would need to see all of the caregiving spaces. We would ask questions maybe about the rest of it. We need to know if there's any guns on the property, how are you keeping those safe? Where are they kept? Are they in a safe? We do have to ensure that those children, while they're in your care, are safe. So if that caregiving area isn't like a bedroom, we would probably be asking you to let us see the closets and just the space in that. We'll need to go outside and see where they're going to be as well. I'm sorry.
It's a microphone.
It's okay. So I hope that answers your question. We do have to see those caregiving spaces, and we have to have access to what's in those areas. I wouldn't necessarily think, like, I just went to a place in Lebanon. We toured the downstairs because that's where the kids were going to be. I did not go upstairs. And she was going to have a gate, and children are not allowed upstairs. So I hope that helps.
So they don't go where the kids go.
They don't go where the kids don't go.
Unless there's a safety concern, then I don't see why they would.
Okay.
If there was something that we were concerned about, then we would probably ask you about it and just see if you could show it to us, but we wouldn't just go marching upstairs and ask to see, where do you lay your head at night? We would just want to say, hey, we would ask. We would always ask permission, and if you're not comfortable, then we would just evaluate from there.
I have one more question.
Okay.
Okay.
I've been doing this for like 7 years, and I know my friends have been doing it too. I think we are good to think that when parents get in trouble with our daycare, that they turn people in. Is there any protection for us who are licensed? Like, is there backup for us if a parent goes off the rails?
As an unlicensed provider or as a licensed provider?
As a licensed provider.
So what we've been trying to do is not so much come out and give like a violation. We want to see what actually happened. We want to get the story. We want to get every story has two sides. So we're going to want to ask the parent what they saw, what they heard. We want to get with the caregiver. If you have cameras, we'll ask to review camera footage. We'll always try to work with you as much as we can. I don't think it's something that you should always be concerned that a parent. Sometimes it's just a miscommunication. Honestly, a lot of things that I get from parents are just things that they just didn't understand about the program. And once the provider communicated that to the parent, it was cleared up, and I just was like, all right, y'all just hash it out. We got this cleared up, and then we go away. So I don't think you should be concerned about not having support, because that's what a licensing consultant is there for, is to have that support. And everything is going to be a learning experience, whether it's a hard way or an easy way, but it is childcare. It is heavily regulated for a reason, because you're taking care of children, but we're going to support you as much as we can, whether that's through CCRNR or as a licensing person. We're not trying to come out there, and we want you to stay open as long as possible. That's the reason that we came up with this unit. I feel like I'm talking at you.
Did that answer your question, or? Did that answer your question?
Is Julie Vance still the person here?
I do not know. Is Julie Vance?
She covers parts of Smith, DeKalb, Putnam, and Macon County.
Okay.
We have Amy Leonard in the area as well. Mia Boyling. Rhonda Bartlett is over the entire courthouse. There's several. I think there's 6 of them right now, and they're still expanding.
Linda Allison, and she's more Overton. Britton Julian. Yeah. They're great. Everyone I've worked with in this area has been a dream. It's so easy to work with, and Rhonda is very supportive of the pre-licensure process. She is so on board and just really wants to bring childcare options to so many rural areas. She's very excited about that. And her licensing consultants are as well. They're all the time asking me, I heard so-and-so is wanting to open in this county. Like, can you give me the background? What can we do to help them? They're very supportive people around here. So you have good support. I know it's scary, but you have very good support, and we want you to do what's comfortable for you. And even starting small, even if you did a center and started out, well, you said you're going big or go home, but if you want to start out with like 24 and just kind of ease into a center and then expand from there, you could always do that.
You can start classroom by classroom and go that way.
That too.
You can go big. You can work your way to it.
Mm-hmm.
And where that's a little less, maybe intimidating.
Right. I always think that's a great way to start out, is opening maybe 2 classrooms, really getting your bearings, getting your system going, then adding it, if you have that option. Some people are like, I got so many people, I just got to open now. And it's like, that's great. Let's get you open as much as possible. So it's really, we want to work with you in your business plan, and how can we make it work with the licensing rules and within those regulations. Yes, ma'am.
Question, because, I mean, we're probably some of the people that share information and say, hey, yeah, we heard so-and-so is keeping kids. But what about, I mean, is there anyone, I don't know, a sharing house or something that helps us? I know that there's a list of all the licensed people, what are 2 people in Smith County that are actually licensed. But I mean, there's no other way to find out who is keeping. I mean, is
Is there any?
Yeah, not for,
And that's what, yeah, Facebook has been.
not for unlicensed.
That's the way, that's what we've done. But, any, I mean, is that something that you guys hear in other counties where you're like, well, yes, we know that these things are happening. In fact, there's a new one, but how do they get?
Since it's not licensed, we don't necessarily have any say on anything like that. As long as they're within the legal limits of keeping 4 unrelated children, then we don't really have anything to do. Facebook is what we hear statewide is, all right, like we see posts and things like that. But again, as long as they're within the legal limits of keeping children and there's no safety concerns, then we don't really keep up with those kind of things, unfortunately.
I mean, even if people are just gonna keep 4 children in their home, there are a ton of good reasons to just go ahead and become a regulated child care facility. With the main one being that you can, accept the certificate in the subsidy children.
Right.
Whenever
Right.
the pandemic hit and they took on the essential worker certificate, I
Mhm.
ran a center in Putnam County, we had 65 kids and not one parent paid out of pocket for almost 2 solid years.
Yeah.
And so to be able to offer that service to parents, I know from a foster parent standpoint of view, Smith County has a large foster care community. And children who are in the foster care community, their daycare is paid for within regulated child care 100%. So with that being said, even if you're gonna keep 4 kids in your home, if you're really wanting to give kids that safe space, becoming a regulated child care facility is really the best way to go, regardless of whether or not you want to go big or go home. If if you're gonna give them that safe place, go all the way.
Yeah. Very well
Reach
said.
out to more families.
The certificate program, again, like she just said, it is a fantastic thing to just have that guaranteed money every week. I'm sure a lot of families in this area and really statewide are really needing that money as well, especially these times. And the essential worker program is over now. So, and I know even the certificate program has been redesigning their whole thing. They're trying to make things as smooth as possible. And we're trying to modernize our ways and go paperless and everything's electronic. So if you ask us for anything paper, don't ask. We're not going to give it to you. But everything is moving to more modernized, flowing systems, computerized, things like that. So
It's all set up to help you run a business as opposed to having to keep folders of paper for long times. It's going to be so nice. It's in the process right now, but it's going to be incredible when that's there. It's going to be a great resource for providers and for parents.
One urban legend I had heard from several people we tried to approach about watching the babies at the Emmanuel House, they didn't want to become licensed because there was way too much paperwork. There's no paperwork except if you're on the certificate. To get started, there's some.
there's paperwork, there's documents that we require, but if things that we require are things that you would already have to establish your program. So we want to see what's covered in your handbook. We want to make sure that you have everything covered from any incident that could occur. We want to make sure you have a drug policy in mind if you have staff. Things that are going to cover you if they come up.
And there are things that exist already that you can get and tailor to you.
Yes.
But then on the monthly, unless you're taking certificates, they don't turn in paperwork monthly.
No.
And the certificate paperwork is very,
it's electronic now.
Yeah, it's easy.
It's through EAV system.
It's really just attendance.
Exactly. So certificate pays for enrollment and not attendance, but you would submit attendance just to verify that child is still attending. Because if they're not there for, I think it's 20 days, they'll contact the parent and just be like, hey, what's going on? Do you still need this spot? Sometimes they've moved centers completely and just haven't communicated that, but that's not something that you would have to worry about. They just want to make sure that child's still attending because their main goal is continuous care. We want to make sure that child has a spot preferably at the same center every single day, because some children don't have that stability at home. But when they get to childcare, they know their schedule, they know how they're going to be cared for, they know when they're going to eat, things like that. So we really want that stable care as much as possible. That's the goal of certificate. Have I helped questions? Have I scared anybody? Hopefully I haven't scared anybody, but I understand that there is somewhat of a stigma, and Bill and I talked about this before, that childcare licensing can be a little scary, but again, that's why we're here, is to help walk you through these documents, help you walk through all these processes, and try to hold your hand as much as possible and just be like, hey, we can get through this. Everyone, we're all in this together. We're not trying to just, again, send you 90 pages of documents and say, let us know when you get it done. Because that sounds awful. I can't imagine as a provider having that much. But, yeah. And we have the grant money right now. And then Development District is also doing some things, so that's probably going to come out later, though, probably. Would it?
Yeah, I would say it would be this would probably be the second round.
Second round, yeah.
I have a question.
Sure.
So with like the grants and playground area, playground equipment, and what's
Mhm.
required for in-home playground, is it, and I've kind of been all over the place. I work for a center and I work for a 3-star accredited in-home, and I've
Okay.
had my own unlicensed. So,
Okay.
like the thickness of the mulch and, you know,
Right.
all that stuff, and the swings or not, and what's some of those things?
So if you're going to have a play structure that's over 18 inches, you have to have that resilient surfacing that's 6 inches, 6 feet around. But I mean, there's plenty of things that kids can do outside that are not giant play structures. The grant money can help with that portable play materials outside. So if you wanted to buy like balls and bikes and just things like that, the rules do require at least a 4-foot fence around the caregiving area outside, and they need to have like direct outside access to the outside area. They don't need to like walk down the street somewhere to the playground area. But there's plenty of things that children can do outside that don't have to be giant swing sets. That's not a requirement at all.
I was
So,
surprised to hear
yeah.
about the accreditation changing, so I was just gonna ask about playground stuff, because I know that was always a toughie to keep. it
With
in
assessment,
line.
right? I know.
Everything.
As a director, yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I was like, I gave that up, honestly.
The taller things or the rocker
Yeah.
things, you're like, you're too high off the ground, you know?
Yeah.
Just gotta go.
And you're out there with your measuring tape, and I was like, oh, it's 19 inches. We got to put some, yeah. But just, I mean, there's plenty of things that you can do. Even if you wanted to go like a nature playscape or something like that, you could always, there's plenty of things to do outside that have nothing to do with giant
Right
play
now it's
structures.
grass, So we got a lot to work with.
Well, yeah. I mean, throw some balls around, have some bikes.
That sounds good.
You asked about staffing as well. There's a Tennessee Wages program that's available to licensed childcare facilities that helps pay a subsidy twice a year based on their education level and their experience with children. So even if you can't afford to pay them, because no childcare can afford to pay everybody what they're actually worth, there are those supplements available from the state that takes it out of your hands. They fill out a 3-page application, they submit it, and they deal directly with that employee. So it takes you out of the mix. If they are getting that supplement, that doesn't come out of your pocket either. So there's a lot of different options available.
I don't know, I promise this is my last question, I know you have one too.
Yeah, you're good.
So, the mayor might know, or Mr. Woodard, but like, is there anywhere in this county right now where someone could, any for sale or anything like that, like a building that you could open a center in? Because I mean, I think we're pretty much all, if anyone wants to open a center, you're gonna be looking at building something, because there's
It would
nothing.
probably take some remodeling and refurb, but the thing that hit me would be the old Save Lot building. It's closed, I don't know if it's for sale.
I think it just sold, I talked to him. That might not be true, but 2 days ago I spoke with him and he said he's pretty sure he just sold it.
And Digger has a few storefronts on Main Street that would be a good place to start with one small group until you move to a larger group.
On Main Street, I thought about that option also, but there's no outdoor space, is that something that you have to have?
You have to have an outdoor
Building right
space.
over here, this old DCS building, they're getting ready to move.
So is anyone purchase that building?
Not
or-
yet that I'm aware of, but there's no outdoor, I mean,
No, there is no outdoor space.
it should take a career.
But there's a space to make an outdoor space that you might have to walk like
Yeah.
a yard, 10 or 12 yards to.
As long
that
as you can
fence off.
Yeah, if you can keep it fenced off, as long as you can keep the kids contained.
You'd have to walk.
With the
like,
fence.
You couldn't go out and then go into the fence area.
Right.
We used
You
to
would,
could.
Close to.
well, you would need to have some kind of safety plan. Like, are you
Yeah.
going to have staff out there to make sure that there are cones set up, there's no one walking in a parking lot?
We had to cross a parking lot to get to ours and it was licensed.
We would just ask
But
we
we
your
had-
safety
we-
plan on
We had
that.
the rope with the knots and the kids
Yeah.
had to hold the rope. and we had
Exactly.
linens. I mean, it.
Yeah.
teacher advised you.
Yeah.
We didn't tie the kids to the knots. You don't know what I'm talking about. They hold the knots with their.
And they all, yeah.
We don't typically see what people are asking about, they don't just, we have those plans, it's like, we're gonna.
Yeah. So you have a plan.
We open the door, the kids run through the parking lot, the playground's over there. And you're like, no. No, exactly, yeah, yeah. We would just want to make sure that there was a safety plan in place and that you're practicing it. Again, a lot of the stuff comes down to communication. How are you communicating that with us? How are you communicating that with your parents? How how are we keeping your kids safe? Like half the paperwork that we ask for, honestly, when I'm looking at it, I'm like, we're just making sure that you're covered. We want to make sure you have that liability. We want to make sure you thought of every emergency situation. And then how can we put a plan in place?
My first daycare I bought was an old, not an old house, but it was a home. And it was zoned, it had kind of gotten encroached in zoning into the commercial. So I had to put up a fence because it wasn't fenced.
Right.
And I had to make some changes on the inside, but not a lot.
Right.
To make it qualify for a daycare. And then we just used each room as a classroom. So like
We've
the
seen
living
that.
room was the preschool room, one of the bedrooms was a infant room because it was smaller and you didn't need as much space as you
Right.
did for and it worked, and it was a home. And the cool thing was, it was right where the zone line was. So all the people
zoning.
that lived in the neighborhood behind it brought their kids to me.
Yeah.
So, and it was great.
We're
And
fine
so
with that.
That was easy, and it's a small enough starter space than to buy,
Right.
1,000 square foot of a daycare, which I directed one of those too, but I was telling Jeff, 30 employees, 152 kids, but.
Oh my goodness.
But, yeah.
It's a
I
lot.
just feel like that's what this county needs, is something like that.
I'll tell you, parents, I mean, just from having everything from home all the way up to home size, all the way up to huge, parents like littler better than bigger. I mean, bigger is more efficient, but they feel more comfortable.
They want
when
that
know everyone
relationship.
When they walk in.
They want
So,
that relationship with the director. They want it with the parent. I mean, with the teacher, the educators. They want to know who's with their kids every day. When you get those really large programs, that is kind of hard because they have so many responsibilities. Not that they're not providing good quality care, but parents do want those relationships as much as they can, especially with the directors and things like that. They want to have access to you. So you do get that.
The big daycare became a lot for me about staff management.
That
And
too.
less about, and bookkeeping, and
Mhm.
less about the kids. And that's what I told Jeff, I went into daycare so that I had a safe place for my children to attend daycare.
We hear that a lot.
And then it just grew from there. But my background was in early childhood education and early childhood, and when you have 30 staff and 152 accounts for parents, payment accounts, and DHS stuff and all that, my life became about management and less about children. I only saw children when they were in big trouble.
That's no fun.
That's no fun.
That's no fun.
I only saw them when everybody had exhausted everything, and I hated that relationship with children. But I still loved it, and I still love that daycare. But just my experience have been parents like smaller daycares or home-sized daycares rather than big, massive.
And it's a parent preference, yeah, for sure.
And
You'll see it.
We have a set of 4 group homes in Macon County. They all purchased homes side by side by side.
That's
So
a
they
great
serve
idea.
60 children total, including all their school age kids, but they're in 4 small group homes.
See, and that's
So
cool.
they have the large aspect to cover the building and the business plan, but they are broke up into smaller, more manageable entities, so that you do have your small staff, your connection with your parents. So they're serving the same number of people that a center would, but they're not buckled down to the office for the accounts for every single one of them all at one time.
That's a great idea.
There's a lot of different ways you can play that.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what we're trying to just bring those to people's attention. Like Tiffany's giving great ideas of just things that it doesn't have to be one large building where you can cram 200 kids into it. It can look different for every area, every parent, every family, every provider. These are rules, these are regulations, but where can we really take these? There's plenty of space in there for everyone to have their own niche, their own thing that they want to do. We want to work with you. We want to work with anyone. I love to see someone working out of the box. I think it's so neat where people can just really expand and get creative. And we want to see it happen. We want to see what you guys can do.
We've seen some cool outdoor programs.
Yeah.
It's like a mainly outdoor program, which
Oh,
is
yeah.
something that I never would have thought of in a million years, but the families love it and the kids love it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have an idea that you think is crazy, it may be very feasible and it may be very popular to someone in your community.
True. Yeah. Outdoor
Especially
stuff
in the
is
summer for school age.
right.
That is a perfect. We did a camp model one time. We had an off-site, outdoor, mostly daycare for school age in the summer. And it was wonderful, and we had themes. One summer we did visiting different countries every week, and we learned about countries, but it was all done outdoors. And we made a lot of money. You make a lot of money on school age kids, They pay a lot and you can have more. for the
Yeah, you can have
adults.
1 to 20, so
Yeah,
instead
and
of your
They often can go to the
infants.
bathroom by themselves, which is really
few accidents, and yeah, they can usually take care of themselves pretty well.
Is it okay if we incorporate faith-based
Yes,
teaching?
yes, that is totally up to you. Yeah,
It just needs to be like
Absolutely.
non-denominational necessarily, like just kind of general.
whatever you want it, yeah. It just communicate to your parents. So like, this is what, I would just put it in your handbook that like your, kind of what you'll be talking about on a daily basis, your lesson plans, how you're gonna incorporate your faith base into your program.
There's a lot of church-run daycares in Cookville, and they are all, I ran one.
Yeah.
It was faith-based.
There's Jewish, there's Methodist, really, you can go to any kind of denomination, religion, you've got them
Just
all.
your answer when they complain is, but you brought them to a faith-based daycare.
Just as long as you're clear.
Right, that's why we say have that in your handbook, because whenever if they come to you and they're like, well, we didn't know you were gonna talk about this, you're like, well, you sign that you have the handbook, that's why we require that every parent has access to your handbook, and they sign that they've read it, and they know what's going on, they're gonna see your lesson plans posted in the classroom. Again, it comes down to communication, just letting your parents know what's going on every day. Yeah,
And Jeff, I'll throw this out to you. This is observation, because I work in Davidson County.
okay,
And one of the problems with daycare is that they can't afford to build their own building.
it's a huge
It's hard
cost.
to go to the bank and borrow the money because they don't have the equity capital to start with.
Right.
And according to Jeff on this is, a lot of companies in Nashville are building space at their plants for daycares, and they get tax write-offs for that. Then you don't have the expense of having that, but you start out on a smaller scale.
Right.
It's kind of like Bono now has their own health, division over there. Is looking at something, bringing plants in that are, if they're worried about childcare, which everybody is helping to support, in their square footage to delineate, they don't wanna run it.
Right.
But to delineate the space to help do that. I think that's something that, as we bring industry in, we need to start partnering with them and helping us with the childcare. And just saying, we know we have the problem, and I think from a tax standpoint, we've got to figure out ways to partner with these companies to get the square footage, because again, most people just can't afford to build
It's
buildings
expensive.
for daycares, they just can't.
It's
Especially
expensive.
today's building cost of building anything, it's
Seriously.
just cost prohibitive, makes it really tough.
Lumber.
At some point, what could happen in this county is what we did in Bonmore, which was several of the plants went together and they bought the land and built the building. And then it was up to a private group to run it.
Mm-hmm.
And, even though the aftercare didn't pan out, the second and third shift care didn't pan out, they still do a booming business with the
That first shift.
first shift.
Exactly.
And the building was, the plants were out of it once they paid for the building and paid for the land.
Okay.
They didn't, but they provided the space because it protected their workforce.
And
And
you have
that's
their
what it
workforce come to
what it
work every
boils
day
down
because they have
to. It
somewhere to drop
protected
kids
their
off to.
workforce.
Tyson and Gibson counties doing that right now.
Yes,
They
that's a good
got
example.
Space for 100 kids, they're calling it Tyson Tykes. We've worked with them, Department of Economic Development has worked with them. It should be running, I think, next year or late this year. But they basically said, we're gonna get the space, we're gonna build it out, we're gonna bring someone in to run it, and we are gonna pay the co-pays. So their staff will mostly qualify for the certificate program based on wages, and we're gonna cover their co-pays.
Which is really sad that they're willing to admit their wages are so low.
Well, certificate.
They've also upped their,
Wages
they've
for,
upped what they cover.
Not Families First, but Smart Steps program.
Yeah.
Which is tailored to families with one or two working family members in it that work up to 30 hours a week. For just a family of 3, which would be 2 adults and 1 child, or 1 adult and 2 children, is $3,942 a month gross. So whether we like to admit it or not, 90% of our jobs in all of these areas qualify for Smart Steps.
Yeah.
I did the numbers one day out of curiosity, no qualify.
So it's not necessarily a wages problem as much as it's a cost of living problem.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
But if we go on faith-based as well, look at your local churches. They have areas they're gonna rent out to you. If you wanna be faith-based, what a better mission of a church than to rent you space or to lend you space to run your childcare. I ran a faith-based program out of a church in Cookville for several years. It's still existing today, and it is phenomenal aspect. Churches want to reach families.
Yep.
Families need childcare. Families need God. What a better way to incorporate it all into one? Find your local church. Ask them, do you have space? Can I use space?
Mm-hmm.
There's some kind of gray areas with shared space and grant money as far as like who's going to use these items. But as
Right.
far as like licensing rules, it's very possible. It happens everywhere.
Absolutely.
Can I
Yeah.
ask y'all a question?
Yeah.
One that you can chime into. Why did y'all get out of your directing jobs to come to the state?
You need to go first?
Yeah, you can go first.
I'm sorry, stay.
No, you're good. No, you're fine.
I just want to know.
Yeah, that's
I
fair.
have 2 small children. I ran a child care facility. I didn't have sick time. I didn't have any of that. And I'm a foster family as well. So I had spoken a little bit to Bill. He asked me the very charged question when I walk in of, you have kids, where do your kids go? Well, my kids stay at home with the nanny because we have a child care crisis. So, but as a foster family, I could no longer serve children because there was no child care. So in the Upper Cumberland, I get phone calls all the time for children, and nobody can take them in the area because there's no daycare. I can't continue to take kids into my home, but I can help expand childcare. And that was my outreach for it. Is my home may be closed, but the world still needs more. So I left for that. And my kids being home is a super plus. But
Yeah.
I don't have children. I had always wanted, my goal when I got out of school was to work in the assessment. Assessment was my ultimate goal. I was with a corporate program, so for me, it wasn't necessarily my business. I was kind of running someone else's business. And this job came up for assessment, and honestly, I'd always wanted to be an assessor. When I became assessed, I remember talking to my assessor. I'm like, how do I get to your job? And that's how I got here, 9 years later, and I'm in licensing.
It's 9 years exciting. I directed the FAA facility headquarters in Oklahoma City daycare when the other daycare was going up. And I got pulled into training people how to prepare for bombs in the state of Oklahoma, and that led to a position in public speaking all over the United States, and moved into training. It just organically happened, thanks to Timothy McVeigh.
And my passion is definitely more working with other directors and educators. Like, I want people to feel supported. That's where my passion lies within all of this. I think it's great to have quality care, but how can I support you as a teacher? Because that's how we're going to keep you here. So for me, that's where I want to come in, and I want to support directors. I've been in your shoes. I know some weeks you're working 70 hours a week. Some days you're getting to leave at 4 o'clock, and it's an easy week. It's a hard job sometimes. You have
It's
parents.
also flexible except for when it isn't.
Exactly. Well, right.
I mean, it is.
Yeah.
It's like if you've got,
Yeah.
your kid has a doctor's appointment, you can make that happen.
Exactly.
Sometimes with a 9 to 5, you can't.
Right.
Without taking off and losing time. But if there's a crisis and you can't. So, I mean, it's kind of like ministry. I mean, that's how my job is now. I'm really flexible except for why I'm late to a meeting because someone had a crisis. So.
Right.
I like the business part of it. I'm your weirdo
Right.
that likes the paperwork and stuff.
Well, we need you weirdos. Because I'm not that person.
I don't want to be in the classroom.
Yeah.
I want to be doing the business side of it and like cooking them breakfast, lunch, and snacks. Like,
Do it.
Don't put me in the classroom because my child drives me nuts. I don't want to.
I take them to childcare because they're driving me nuts. And you can totally do that. And if it got to a space where like maybe you felt like you needed to do both, hire an assistant director and be like, hey, this is your job. You're going to be the person in those classrooms making sure that they're doing their lesson plans. These teachers are following through with what we're asking of them. And you can do the more administrative part of it, and you can cook breakfast for everybody and pass out chocolate chip cookies at the end of the day.
I've just always been told by family members that you have to start small. You can't start big, and you can't start not being in the classroom. You can't be the boss at first.
I would say it's important to make your presence known in the classroom. It's important for your teachers to see you in there, supporting them and everything. You want to make your rounds, all that kind of stuff. You don't have to spend hours and hours in each classroom unless you felt the need to do it. When I was a director, I made sure every single day to spend at least 5 minutes in each classroom, and then I would try to go through on everyone's lunch breaks and just check in with people. And really that's, again, communication. Teachers just want to feel supported. That's how they stay. And like Tiffany said, there's no way we can pay them what they're worth. They're invaluable. They need all the support you can give them in the world. So if you're at the end of the day like, hey, I really appreciate you, and you're giving them a $5 on a gift card to go get a drink or something. Just like something. I mean, really, I mean, if someone gave me $5 on a gift card, I'd be very, very happy about it at the end of the day. So just like little things like that, I think you can totally, I don't think you have to start small. If you want to, like you said, go big or home and you're committed to it, let's do it. Let's look at it. Let's bring me your ideas. And you don't have to be committed to something to talk to us. So even if it's just the beginning of like, this is what I thought about doing, let's just see where we can take it. And if it doesn't make sense and you're like, I don't want to do it now, I want to wait, we'll wait. So whatever you want to do. Yeah, you're welcome. Anyone else? I don't know what time it is. Oh, we went over an hour, y'all. Sorry. Of course, I was late, so sorry.
We're in no hurry to get back into this traffic. That's all.
Oh, I know. Y'all.
We can help you get signed up for orientation. We're here.
Yes. Anyone want to sign up for orientation?